this Instagram page. It's called Show Me PT.
Okay.
And so one of the ways that people can kind of learn more about physical therapy is through the videos. Like I do funny videos, but a lot of it's supposed to be more like instruction. Like this is something you can do for your shoulder if it's bothering you, or this is how to, do a deadlift. Just little things like that.
Yeah.
And to be able to have like some sort of basis and then market it to physicians, like, hey, these are the things that I do. This is like how patients can stay involved even if they're not in a session with me, or they can learn this way.
All right, what's up, guys? It is episode 47 of Yellow Colored Glasses, and I have an awesome guest on today. His name is Josh Griffith. Many of you will know him. He is one of the, best athletes in Pleasant Hill High School history. Awesome student, awesome person, awesome friend, and we're going to get to catch up today because he's been gone a little while. So real quick, before we get started, I'm going to read a review, and that is from Nick Smith. He's our good buddy. He said, I cannot speak highly enough of Warren & Mount's agency. Not only did they help my wife and I find cheap car insurance, but they had also helped us find the perfect life insurance policies to protect us from any unexpected life events. Jake and Dusty have also helped me shave years off of my mortgage payments and saved me tens of thousands of dollars in interest payments. Who doesn't like the sound of that? Staff members are the most down-to-earth people that you'll ever meet. They're knowledgeable when it comes to insurance. I highly encourage anyone reading this to reach out to them to discuss different options to help protect yourself and your family. Promise that you won't regret it. Thank you for giving me the peace of mind as I grow my family. There's no better feeling than that. So thank you, Nick. That's a very, very good review. Guys, the reviews mean a ton. I think we're up to the 120 mark now. So those help a ton on Google. Just be at the top of the searches. So thank you for leaving those reviews. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to our guest. I already mentioned his name. Josh, tell us what you got going on, man.
Yeah, so I'm now a physical therapist up in Michigan, kind of around the Detroit market, and a town like kind of the same size as Lee Summit. Okay. So just kind of an estimate on like where I'm at in that aspect. Been working for this company about 3 years. That's when I started practicing. So it's been a long journey to get to this point with going through PT school and everything. But right now we're building out a clinic and just learning the process of starting a business in a market that's a little more saturated, and kind of those challenges that we may face in the future if I ever want to do something on my own. So been a good experience so far, and enjoying my career. Like it was the one for me. So.
Okay, so physical therapist, how long have you, let's start back here. Where did you go to school at?
So I went to school and played baseball at Fort Scott Community College. Right. Did 2 years down there, and then transferred to Grand Valley State University, which is up in Michigan. So finished out my baseball career there. So that was my 4 years undergrad degree, was in exercise science. And so to get into physical therapy school, you have to have a bachelor's of some major. It doesn't necessarily have to be exercise based or medical based, but obviously that's going to help you out a little bit, so you have a little more background. I had a super senior year to be able to get all the requirements to get into PT school, and then physical therapy school is another 3 years. So all in all, like best case scenario, 7 years you're going to be done. But for me, I got to do it in 8. So
there you go.
We made it through, and then I started out in the career.
8 years of school. Mm-hmm. See, and most people say, 8 years, that's way too long. But look, it's already over. You're done.
I know. No, I never have to go back. So that's the nice part.
Who was the Chiefs player that was from Grand Valley State? That was the corner?
Brandon Carr.
Brandon Carr. I was thinking Brandon Flowers. Okay.
Yeah, Brandon Carr. Yeah.
What's their mascot?
We're the Lakers.
The Lakers. Okay. Ever since I remember when you were going there, I was like, okay, that's where that dude came from. There's a lot of good athletes. They have good athletic programs up there too.
Very good. So like all of our sports are pretty competitive. One of the main ones you may know down here is like the soccer program. So our girls soccer program plays UCM all the time, and then basketball wise, they're pretty competitive across all sports. Men's and women's, and then football is always dominant. So like going to a D2 football game, it's always sold out. You got like 16,000 people there. It's a great experience in terms of like a Division II school.
So how was that being, obviously when you're doing like your clinicals and you're doing all your studying, I mean, you're working with all those athletes, right? A lot of times or not?
So sometimes you can. So one of the majors that you can do is athletic training. And so these are the differences in some of the sports field of like rehab. So you have athletic trainers. Those are the ones that are going to be on the sidelines doing some like emergency care. Say somebody injures their knee, they're going to be on the field right next to them. My major was a little different. It was more on like the exercise-based side of things. So maybe somebody that is injured and just trying to come back into like their normal daily exercise activities or their sport, you can kind of be a piece of that, but more so an athletic trainer and a physical therapist and like the team physician is going to be trying to get somebody back on that end of it.
Got it. Okay. So is that why you were doing all those pickleball lessons, the Larry Bird pickleball?
Yeah. Oh yeah, man.
Okay, so
those are some videos that are hopefully only a few people have seen.
No, dude, that was one of the best videos I've ever seen. So if you guys haven't, first of all, you need to follow Josh on Facebook, probably on Instagram too. I don't know, I'm horrible at Instagram, but anyway, he posts some really funny videos, and one of them was all the different ways that he could hit a pickleball, and it was pretty good. So, all right, so you spent 8 years in going to school, 3 years of PT school. How long have you been doing the traveling piece of things where you're going to different locations? Did you start right here and then that just kind of developed into, hey, I'll take a better paying job and go do this? Or like what led you to that?
So there's a couple different things. A lot of people hear of like travel nursing, like that's a pretty lucrative business. Like if you're a nurse and you don't need to like be tied down to one place for a long time, it's a great avenue to like get some more pay and get to see some cool places all in one. And those contracts are like 3 to 6 months usually. Same thing happens in physical therapy. They have a couple of variations. You have internal travel, which is what I did for the company called PT Solutions. And what I did for them was I would just go to their clinics that needed support, whether somebody was on like maternity leave or somebody like had a surgery where they'd be out for a while, or just they were just trying to fill a role there. So that was my job for the first 2 years out of school. Started in 2020, right as the pandemic was starting. That's when I was graduating. So job market wasn't like the most available, let's just say that, in Michigan where I was going to school. So I ended up doing travel for 2 years. I started out in Kentucky, moved down to North Carolina, Atlanta, went out to California, and finished up in Seattle, Washington before taking this permanent job in Michigan. So I'm back up in Michigan right now. I'm like the clinic director that is like kind of just day-to-day operations at the clinic, and then I'm the only physical therapist there too. So
gotcha, dude. That's awesome. So you saw a lot of cool places.
Yeah, it was awesome. Like it was like a little vacation every weekend, and those are the things that are attractive to somebody that is like maybe doesn't have a family or anything that needs to support and be around all the time. So I got to do that and bounce around. It was awesome.
Which was your favorite place that you got to go work?
Probably North Carolina, actually. So I went hiking about every weekend. Pretty small town vibes throughout, so it was kind of like home in that aspect, but I got to be in the mountains. I mean, Seattle was awesome too. You're around water, mountains. It's hard to pick one, but if it would probably be down in the North Carolina
Can you
area.
say your least favorite? What was your least favorite?
Probably California, but the people were good though. Like the people I worked with were phenomenal. It was just like my lifestyle just didn't fit out there. So the California. Okay. And as a physical therapist too, one of the things that plays into the profession is like how are you getting reimbursed, like in terms of your treatment. So out in California, they kind of pay out less for therapy, and so whenever you're trying to see patients, and it's a business on the PT side of it too, so to get the same income, you're having to see more patients, more patients to just kind of even make ends meet.
So you're having to just put through a lot more quantity of people just to basically, I got you.
It's playing that balance of trying to provide quality care, and then also you've got to like make money to justify having a job too.
For sure. So. I mean, you have to make money no matter what. So what led you to find a full-time permanent position there?
So one of the things that really attracted me to Michigan in general is like the outdoors that you get to do kind of year round. Like you're surrounded by all the Great Lakes. The summertime is super mild, not humid. Like maybe you're talking 90s as the high. So like,
but no humidity.
But very minimal humidity. So I loved that, and I made good friends up in Michigan. Was just trying to get back into that area. Not necessarily like the Detroit market was super attractive to me. It was more just like the opportunity to be back in Michigan and help this company grow, which we're supposed to be growing quite a bit over the next few years. It's just, getting that foothold first and then expanding out. So
So is Michigan a good place to go on vacation? I've never went there. I see it. It looks beautiful.
Yeah, so you got a little bit of everything. You got like sand dunes, so if you're like doing like side-by-sides, going on those, you got like hiking. The Upper Peninsula of Michigan is beautiful. It's kind of like very desolate, a lot of forests. You still got lakes surrounding the whole bit of it, but there's just a multitude of things to do. If you like city things, there's city things to do. If you like just going out and being in nature, it's abundant, and there's so many lakes, so many inland lakes and rivers. It's pretty sweet.
So how cold does it get in the wintertime? Like, is it always snowing?
Now that is the good question, because it depends on where you're at in the state. On Detroit side, on the east side, not so bad. But where I went to school, there'd be like a day I woke up and it'd be a foot of snow on the ground in the wintertime, and I'd be like,
they're not calling school off either.
They did not call school off once. There was one year we had it was a Super Bowl, and I was like just praying. I was like, please just let this snow, like cancel school tomorrow. No, it was like 16 inches, and they're like, no, you can walk. You're literally like close enough to walk to class. You can go. So that was an eye opener for sure. It's about 4 months out of the year though. You're expecting some sort of snow.
Okay.
Yeah, 4 months of bliss in the summertime. So.
Yeah, I can handle that though. Like I don't mind the snow. But is it like blistering cold the whole time too?
No.
Like negative wind chills and stuff like that?
Not as bad as you would think. So it just depends. Like if you're in the flatland area, it can be like that, kind of like Minnesota. Those are the people that live in Minnesota. I don't know how they do it, because I hear stories all the time of like negative 40, negative 50 wind chills. Like no way, because it's so flat. And then in Michigan, it's pretty flat, but you still get a little bit of breaks in it, and you're just dealing more so with snowfalls, honestly.
So, gosh, I'm gonna have to go to Michigan.
It's beautiful.
Awesome.
I would recommend it. I know a guy, so if you ever need some directions up there.
What's like the cost of living up there compared to Missouri?
Very similar.
Very
It
similar
just
to
depends.
KC.
Like it looks like this is one of the things, like trying to figure out where I was going to live long term. I was like, okay, financially, what am I going to have to make here to like make it seem similar to another place, right? And like the transportation costs are much higher up there. I think it's because of the roads just like are getting pounded, obviously, like salt and all this stuff in the wintertime. And so like gas and just vehicle, like insurance is super high because of all that stuff too. So it's interesting like how that plays a factor in like the food cost being much lower though, because there's still a lot of farmland. It's interesting how it all like evens out, whereas here in Missouri, like it seems like cost of living overall would be much cheaper, but just like basic different taxes and things like that, it all kind of evens out in the end.
Yeah. Okay. No, that makes sense too. So you're saying like taxes for roads to keep them updated.
Yep. And even like your
condition.
registration for your car, it's like, I don't know, like $120 a year or something like that, where you get tags down here for like, I don't know, like 20 something pretty cheap, I feel like. But.
Yeah. Okay. So right now you're working for a company, and you mentioned that eventually you want to hopefully own your own business. Have you put much thought or planning into that? Do you kind of have an idea, or you just someday it'll happen? Like, where are you at on that?
It's going to take some time. So one of the biggest challenges you're going to face as like a health care clinician is you need somebody to be referring patients to you, or you need to have like a strong foothold in the community. You need somebody to trust you with their care. So right now I'm like a new face in a new market, all this stuff. And so even just trying to market for my company is a challenge, because I don't know anybody. I don't know any physicians. I don't know anything. So it's a lot of cold calling, which is a challenge. And I'm sure you do the same thing. Cold calling all the time and just trying to make any and every connection that you can. So for myself, trying to build my skill set in the meantime of like understanding how a business runs, like what's the overhead cost going to be just to even take some money home one day with patient care. How does that look? Do we do like a self-pay model, or do we go through like for physical therapy, you can go through insurance in terms of like straight up like you're working with the insurance company, or you can do like a cash-based side of it and say like $100 for a session, and then you give the patient like a super bill and they take it to their insurance and they get reimbursed back that way. So there's a couple ways you can do it, but I think the most attractive way to do it would be like, all right, I got 10 sessions for this much money, and you can come use them whenever you want. Like some days you're gonna be feeling great, you don't need it. Sometimes like you're trying to get prepped for maybe a competition. We get somebody that is like a power lifter, and they're just trying like to get some critique on like, hey, what's going on? Like, why am I feeling this tweak here when I'm doing this? And we can kind of provide that support. So my goal is to work with those active individuals that maybe don't have as much chronic pain situation. That's up my alley, because I'd love to work with athletes.
Yeah.
And doing the travel biz has been a big challenge in building out that skill set, because when you're going 3-6 months at a time, an ACL recovery takes a year to do that. So you're never seeing a patient from day one all the way through their recovery back to their sport. So right now I'm really trying to build out the skill set of active adults, more sports, and bringing those background that I have in exercise science to the table with it. And then ideally, this is kind of like my big picture dream scenario for like a practice, is to do maybe like half the day with patient care in terms of the physical therapy rehab side of it, and then do some like training, so strength and conditioning with like a small group, 4-6 kids, and then maybe even doing some baseball lessons or something on the side as well. Just a variety. That would be ideal. And then I get to make my own schedule, be able to assist patients via like the Instagram model, or having some sort of hybrid like remote training with the in-person. So that's the idea. That's the goal, and trying to learn and see what other people are doing already to get to that point has been huge.
Yeah, there's a lot to it. And yeah, I definitely understand the piece of it where you're trying to figure out how to market, do all those things while you're trying to also learn the trade yourself, So what would you tell somebody who is coming out of high school or they're in college, maybe they don't have it quite figured out yet? What would you tell them the biggest pros or maybe the biggest cons of going into that? And then to piggyback off that, in this field, would you, if you could go back, would you do the exact same field, or would you shift gears and go a different direction?
That's a good question, because it's a challenge with physical therapy. The cost of school is so high. So you're looking at probably $100,000 in just tuition costs to get through your physical therapy school, not let alone your undergrad.
Your undergrad, yeah.
So just the financial aspect of what it's costing to go to school is pretty high, and then the return on your investment, we make good money, but it's nowhere near like the cost of school. So it's one of the least rewarding in terms of financial aspect.
Immediate stuff.
So you're looking like 20, 30, 40 years down the road is when you're going to really notice like any positive aspect of it, because people are paying off their student loans. I was fortunate, my family helped me out a lot and able to mitigate a lot of those high loan rates. And so right now we're doing good. I did travel, so that was lucrative and helped me out, kind of speed up the process of paying those things down. But that would be the biggest con. The pros are, you're getting to help people every day. For myself, I love to teach. If I was going to be anything else, I'd be a teacher and a coach, because that's what my parents did. Yeah. And I just love that aspect. I love movement. I love learning about the human body. It feels like we're always learning something bigger, better, just a new treatment technique or a new way of loading the body and getting more efficient with it. You're constantly learning. If you cannot get bored in this job, like there's no way that you can get bored or complacent and expect to be good. So the pros are like, you're always going to be challenged. You're getting to help people. You're helping them maybe change a lifestyle. Maybe they haven't been active and they're like, I don't even know where to start. Like, I haven't exercised in 40 years. I've never even stepped foot in a gym. How can we motivate somebody to make that lifestyle change and be on a path to live a high quality life, not just a long life, but like a high quality, get the most out of everyday life. So that's the most rewarding. But I tell students all the time when they come and shout at me, I'm like, do you have any other interest in any other thing? Why are you going to be a physical therapist? And if you can't come forward with a multitude of reasons why you want to be a physical therapist, probably look somewhere else right now. You can always do some sort of movement industry thing on the side if you wanted to. But in terms of becoming a physical therapist, there's a huge time aspect. You're putting off a lot of life things to go through school for 7-8 years. Yeah. And to just know you're maybe not going to make the most money. You're going to make a good living, but you're not going to be living the high life for
Quite a while.
For quite a while.
I know, and I think that's a really big misconception. That at least that was what I mean. Amanda, she wanted to go be either in PT or in OT, and the mindset I had was, oh yeah, she's gonna go make a lot of money. And I think there's a lot of people who think that, and yeah, you will, but it's gonna take a lot of time. Similar to, I mean, people to go, eye doctors or pharmacists or any of it. I mean, really, you made a great point too. You're putting off life things as well and making those sacrifices to really focus on the long term. But at the end of the day, the things that you're talking about on the reasons why you love it and enjoy it, if you're doing what you love every single day, dude, there's so much money in this world. Like, money's everywhere.
Yeah. There's
millions of ways that you can go get extra money and make more money. If you're doing what you love to do, then that's the most important thing.
That's right. And I had great support from my family all throughout. They're like, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. So that's what I kind of have always, leaned on and kept that in focus. Like, it's delayed gratification, right? And you're always going to have something that's going to be a challenge. So if you have the thing that you're willing to be challenged with every day, go full bore, go for it. So it's been a good journey. I'm very happy with where I'm at in terms of the career aspects. Now there's new challenges every day with becoming a clinic director and trying to do the marketing aspect. That's not really patient care side of things, just trying to get people in the door. So it's a new avenue that isn't my most favorite, but it's a piece of it. And if I'm going to be doing my own thing one day, I have to be good at it now.
So did you have any training in marketing before you did this, or did they just say, hey, this is your spot, your position, go figure it out? Like, how did all that work?
So a little bit of both. We have a marketing team for us that's their job, is to go out and speak to physicians. And once we're built up, I won't have to do that as much. But we have people within the company that have been doing these brand new clinics for years. This isn't their first rodeo. They're literally doing this constantly. So we get tips and tricks on okay, how often should we be going to an office that are they going to get annoyed? Like, if I had somebody coming up to my door 100 times in 100 days, there's no way I'm going to refer to that person. So trying to do that dance of how often should we be contacting these people? How can we get in the door and have a different conversation? We've been taught that as we go. So it is a learning curve. They can tell you all the tips and tricks to do, but unless you go and do it or be willing to fail, you're not going to grow.
So what's your favorite part? What's your favorite way to market so far? Do you have any specific things that you feel like you're having a lot of success with?
One of the things that I was hoping would kind of take off was starting this Instagram page. It's called Show Me PT.
Okay.
And so one of the ways that people can kind of learn more about physical therapy is through the videos. I do funny videos, but a lot of it's supposed to be more instructional. This is something you can do for your shoulder if it's bothering you, or this is how to, do a deadlift. Just little things like that.
Yeah.
And to be able to have some sort of basis and then market it to physicians. Hey, these are the things that I do. This is how patients can stay involved even if they're not in a session with me, or they can learn this way. Just building out the brand of my name has been helpful in terms of trying to make these connections with physicians, because they like a strong company, but they want to know who they're working with.
For sure.
So kind of shifting my focus and trying to sell myself versus just sell a product of a company has been a big shift.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because even before we even talked, I was not coming at this from an aspect of you're in a sales position, but you are. It's physical therapy, but if you're running a business, if you're the head of all the things you're talking about, I mean, the main thing is figuring out how to get clients and figuring out how to get people referrals and all that stuff. So we talk about it all the time, how everything in life is sales, and it's no different with this. You're in full-on sales role. So, okay. So I want to talk a little bit about kind of going back in time a little bit here. Okay, so I mentioned when we first started about how good of an athlete that you were, and also whenever I ask Coach Messenger or Coach V or anytime we talk about favorite kids you've ever coached, we always put a top 5 list together of top 5, top 10 of this position or this type of player, and you're always on all those. So what was your favorite sport? Because you were really good at baseball. Obviously you went to college and played baseball. You're really good at basketball, and then obviously you're a really good quarterback too. So which one of those was your favorite?
I loved whatever season I was in, man. It was it was so fun to play Friday Night Lights and just like be kind of like that representative for your hometown. And you grow up playing with kids, like literally at kindergarten, we're playing flag football together. I have some of my best friends from just playing football from that all the way through. And you're always a Pleasant Hill Rooster. You're always a Rooster from kindergarten all the way through your senior year. And you always remember the players that were in front of you, like the older guys. Like I could probably name every single quarterback that was a starter from when I was a kid all the way through, and I always wanted to be that too. And then to be able to do it was super surreal and very cool, and to be successful too was awesome. And then basketball season rolled around, and I could not get enough of basketball. Honestly, if there was one other sport I was going to play in college, it would have been basketball for sure. I just enjoy like feeling, I don't know, like the flow of the game. It is like the most fun when you're clicking on all cylinders.
Yeah.
And the camaraderie that we had from, when I was a freshman and you as a senior, like always, talking to me, like that doesn't happen all the time, right?
And that came from seniors doing the same thing whenever I was a freshman, in the culture that we had. So
that program aspect of it, that was, I enjoyed that a lot. And same goes, like as a kid, like growing up, you're always looking at the older kids in high school and dreaming of playing one day on that court. And then when baseball season rolled around, that was like my thing. So it just felt super natural to just go out and do it. And I got to start as a freshman, and that was pretty cool. And to be able to do it for 4 years for P Hill was awesome. So, man, if I had to narrow it down, though, I would probably have done basketball in college if I went back and did it all over again.
So, and this, I wasn't even planning on asking this question, but it just brought us to a really, really good point, because nowadays, especially with you being in physical therapy, you working with people, not necessarily athletes all the time, but we see it. Kids from a very early age are specializing in everything that they do, whether it's volleyball all year round, soccer all year round, basketball, pretty much anything. If their parents figure out that they're good at it whenever they're little and they like it, essentially, hey, we want to do this year round, that way we don't get left behind. You're a perfect example of somebody who just said, I loved every single sport I played. You were borderline all-state in every single sport that you played. Like, you were that type of athlete in all those. We've had numerous other ones that were like that. Josh Shoemaker was like that. Clay Eddier was like that. Lee Stoppelman was like that. All people who went and played college athletics, and they were three-sport athletes who were really good at all three. So what would you say, first of all, do you think it's good that kids are specializing, or do you see a problem with it, or do you think it's all good, it's just kind of the way it is now?
I think we, like, just throughout our lifespan, we tend to, decrease activity over different things. As a kid, we're developing for so long. Even to our 20s, we're still developing. And in terms of being a well-rounded athlete, I 100% support and promote. Do as many sports as you possibly can for as long as you can. When it comes to like the recruiting aspect, most coaches were wanting you to be a multi-sport athlete, at least two sports.
Yeah.
You're going to be able to do things in basketball a little bit better in terms of like three-dimensional movement, like just changing direction in basketball is so much different than baseball. And you're going to be a much better baseball player because you can do those things that you're doing in basketball, and vice versa. Like your linear speed's going to be better in football compared to maybe in basketball. So they all play into each other. And if you can play a variety of things, like an overhead sport, a sport that's going to challenge your hips and your feet and be quick with that, I promote that 100%. I'm not as against specialization in one sport as I used to be. The biggest thing is, if I have somebody that's only going to play one sport, I want them to be training, like cross-training in the off-season. Don't be playing for 12 months out of the year that one sport. You need a break. There's a reason there's an off-season for the NFL players and for the MLB players. Like, they do other things besides just play baseball or just play football year-round. They are doing, change of direction training. So trying to get stronger, trying to just get more agile, really. And even the mental aspect of it too, training the brain on like visualization so that you can do those activities at the highest level is super important. So, if it comes, like, if somebody's going to ask me like, hey, do you think I should play one sport? I'm gonna say no. Like, I'm just gonna straight up say, like, I would love you to play not only baseball, but I'd love you to play rec basketball or play flag football or play volleyball, something else. Just do something else, because you're gonna develop better overall as an athlete. So it doesn't necessarily like set you apart if you're just playing one sport going to college.
For sure. No, and I think the funny part is like you said that you loved all those three. Like you loved those three sports, and whatever one you were in, you were all in with that one, and you were, and you were a winner too. So like it was probably easier to like all those because you were, number one, you were individually good at all of them. You were also on pretty good teams, so that makes a difference as well. But I saw something the other day. It was an Instagram reel, and it was some I don't know who the person was, like a sports scientist, or I don't know what their position was, but they were talking about how the percentages of people in professionals, whether they're baseball, football, basketball, the overwhelming majority of them played at least 3 sports up until at least their freshman year of high school, and then they talked about maybe specializing at a later time. But we're seeing the thing that's crazy to me is I get it when you get to high school, like I can understand that, but I'm seeing it like in second grade.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and that's the big difference, right? So
third grade.
Early specialization. I think we should define like maybe early sports specialization in first grade, second grade. I'm absolutely no. Please don't do that. Like, do something else. Like
I would just think you'd burn out too. Like I would get sick of it.
Yeah, because it's almost like a job. Like even in college, like you're playing. Like for us, we were baseball. We were 12 months out of the year, but we had like off-season workouts where we were not throwing nearly as much, or we may not have hit as much. Like you need some downtime. You need that mental aspect of some time away from it too. So those are all important pieces. And the early specialization, I think, is one of the worst things that we're doing for young athletics. If we're going to try to promote like a lifelong enjoyment of exercise and competition, we need to like broaden our scope a little bit.
Yeah, I think I don't know, it's interesting. It's definitely interesting, but I don't know, I just wanted to pick your brain on that, see what you thought of it. But you got anything else you want to chat about before we hop off of here?
Dude, this was good. I appreciate you bringing me on here. This is fun, and hearing you talk me up, oh my goodness, I wasn't expecting all that good stuff. So no, I'm excited. I love following you guys too, just to see you guys grow. It's inspirational for myself, because if I want to own a business one day, I'm always looking to who's done it and who's going through it, and I'm gonna be picking your brain too going forward.
No, it's hard, but it's fun, and doing something for yourself is the best. I mean, it's no better thing you can do. So, no, man, I'm glad that I caught you at the right time with you being here.
Yeah, it's good to be back in town.
Yeah, go have some fun this weekend. Enjoy the time with the family. Hopefully you see some old buddies and all that stuff. So anyway, thanks for hopping on, Josh. And that was episode 47 of Yellow Colored Glasses. We ended just in time too, because that camera quit. So anyway, all right, peace out, everybody. Thanks for watching.